Hey, I'm Nicolia, and today we're going to build a simple but powerful farm that works for 12 different tree types and even produces all its own bone meal when farming nether trees. Stay tuned, because later on in the video I'll show you how to customize the base version of this farm to auto-compost items, farm mangrove trees, and more. This farm has been optimized for simplicity and ease of use, making its materials list quite cheap. If you're just here for the tutorial, then you can skip to this part in the video. Otherwise, let's get into what makes this tree farm so versatile. So, the original idea for this farm came from the one and only
ENX04.
and I've adapted it to produce on average 20% more items whilst being able to filter out drops into a storage and compost excess items such as wood blocks and saplings to resupply the farm with some bone meal. Basically, this farm works by having the player both place and grow saplings, whilst a redstone clock sends a signal up the scaffolding tower to a TNT duper, which then drops TNT at just the right height to detonate a majority of the tree, without needing to use a heap of pistons to push the logs into a separate blast chamber. The saplings and logs then fall down into this water stream where they travel past the player, allowing them to collect all the saplings they need to keep the farm running, whilst the remaining items are filtered and stored in these chests. The player is able to pick up only saplings in their offhand and bone meal in their main hand, as they've filled their inventory with dummy items, so they have no space left to pick up anything else, such as logs or sticks. Bone meal is supplied to the player via this dropper line here, which you can fill up with stacks of bone meal to AFK for even longer periods of time. Now, some tree types become even more efficient if you detonate the TNT at different heights, such as nether trees and jungle. We can control the height the TNT explodes at by changing the length of time between each activation of the duper, which can be done by clicking on this redstone dust, which modifies the speed of the redstone clock. Now, this is actually the second time I've upgraded this specific farm, as the first video I made on this had a couple errors, and so I wanted to make a new rendition of the farm that was even faster and more reliable, and then pair that with a thorough and easy to follow tutorial. Okay, so a large portion of you guys will want to build this farm on a server. And if that's the case, then you need to ensure that TNT duping is enabled, and that redstone mechanics haven't been modified, as pesky server owners modify the game with plugins to remove exploits like TNT duping, and also reduce lag by inhibiting redstone. To see why servers that use things such as paper badly affect redstone farms, I recommend seeing this video by Cubic Meter. Another important fact is that this farm strictly works on Java Edition, so please don't try making it on Bedrock, as pretty much the whole thing won't work. And if you're having issues building the farm or getting it to work on Java, I highly recommend comparing what you've built to the world download, which I've linked in the description below. I've also provided a schematic where you can use the Lightmatica mod to overlay a blueprint of the farm in your world to build off of. Okay, let's start building. First, find a flat area and place down a row of 11 blocks going in the east-west direction. Then, go 2 blocks diagonally across, and place 13 blocks in a line. The direction matters due to how rounding affects TNT damage to entities such as items. Turn again and place 11 more blocks running east-west, and then close up the squircle shape with 13 more blocks placed in a line like so. With 2 blocks placed diagonally at each corner. Now, fill in each corner with 3 blocks each. This is where we're going to be placing down our water in a second. To help you keep track of where you are on the farm and what direction I'm facing, I've overlaid my coordinates and direction in the top left of the screen. Choose anywhere to build a quick infinite water source, and then visit every corner and place down 2 water sources on the edge of the diagonal blocks we placed down before, leaving a gap in the middle. The water is placed up high so it can spread an extra block further, and together, all 8 water sources placed in the corner of this smooth stone shape will push all the items into the center. After placing down the last 2 water sources, come over to the east side of the collection pool and build a triangle centered on the edge using 5 blocks, with an additional block placed in the middle. Then come over to the center of the pool, fill up your buckets again, and then pillar 2 blocks upwards using dirt as scaffolding, placing down a solid block on top. After placing another solid block on top, get out your dirt scaffolding again, as well as some fence gates, and then place those against the lower dirt block like so. Then put down 2 additional temporary blocks and use those to place more fence gates against. These gates will later be opened and used to stop water from flowing down below. Then, you can clean up the leftover dirt and open up all the fence gates so items don't get stuck on top of them. Now we're going to build the section where the player actually places down the saplings. Let's start with a trapdoor that opens to the east and put a dirt block against it. Then place down a handy sign and pillar up 2 blocks and branch over 2 blocks, so that you can place an obsidian block exactly here. If you want, you can swap this out for waterlogged mangrove root, but not waterlogged leaves, as they will be replaced by natural leaves and eventually decay. After removing 4 of that dirt, waterlog both the trapdoor and the sign so that they don't get blown up by the TNT. Then hop back down and remove your infinite water source from before and leftover dirt. Now dig out all the grass blocks that don't have water on top of them in the collection pool. Over by the east side of the collection pool, we want to make a little tunnel for the items to go through. So let's dig out these 2 blocks and jump down to remove another 5 like so. Then walk forwards into the tunnel and face up to remove all the dirt above you. Then replace this bottom dirt with soul sand and place 2 slabs on the top and bottom of the tunnel like this, and fill in this bit with a dirt block. Now we can head over to the west side of the collection pool and remove all these blocks so that the water can flow down and cover the rest of the floor. Then remove 1 more dirt and waterlog the bottom slab so that items can go through the tunnel seamlessly and not get stuck without needing any ice. Now let's extrude the triangle we made earlier up by 2 blocks. This section is the water elevator, which the player will stand on top of to collect any saplings that flow by them. After placing down some more blocks to build out this platform a bit, empty your bucket of water at the top here and swim down to plant and break a column of kelp to convert all this water to source blocks. Then cap off the top with a slab, and now we can get on to making the real meat of the farm, the storage system. Here we're going to place down this L shape of double chests, and then come around to the north side where we're going to break 2 of the stone blocks, and place down 4 more coming out from the border, like so. Right now I'm building the item filters, and each one requires having a repeater placed on the floor like this with redstone on the block behind it. Then we can cover up the repeaters with this 2x3 platform of stone, a few redstone torches, and then some more stone on top of that. Now add on this extra double chest for a bit more storage space, and place 3 downwards facing hoppers against the stone blocks so that they get locked by the redstone torches, as well as 4 additional hoppers on top of the front of the other double chests. Then decorate the top of the mini stone platform we just made with some comparators and redstone dust, and carefully place hoppers that face into the comparators, completing the item filter circuit. Next up, we're going to work on the item stream that carries the items across the tops of the filters. Use a scaffolding dirt block to surround above the lower hoppers with stone blocks, and build them around like so. After placing blocks around the edges, use a temporary dirt block so that you can put an upside down stair here. Then walk back over to the item elevator and place a sign on the left with an open trapdoor against the dirt block. Put more stone around the edge of this hopper so that the water is able to flow right where we want it after removing this dirt. Now, for those not comfortable with redstone, make sure you're paying close attention here, as right now I'm building out the 3x4 platform that the redstone clock will sit on top of. To build this, start with a stone block placed on this edge here, with a torch on the water side of it. Then, coming out from that torch, place 3 repeaters like so, and set them all to their highest delay setting of 4 ticks. Then, smack down a redstone dust in the corner with 2 blocks next to it, and complete the clock by placing a repeater with 2 dust curving around so it powers the block the torch is connected to. Now, to be able to vary the speed of this clock, we're going to put in another repeater. This time, set it to 3 ticks of delay, followed by another redstone dust that we want to set to a dot for now. Then, to be able to turn our clock on and off, let's place down a lever on this stone here. For those that don't have an elytra, you're going to have a bit of trouble getting into the farm in its current state. So, let's jump back down to where the chests are and chuck down a stair and ladder for easy access to the farm. Climb up it and then place a carpet against this repeater so you can walk across the water stream without needing to jump. Then take a sharp left turn and walk over to the edge here. Place down 3 temporary dirt blocks with an iron bar and chain placed on top of the back 2 blocks, like this. These will prevent leaves and warp blocks from growing in front of the player and obstructing their view, whilst this fence post will stop the player from getting too close to where the TNT detonates, so they won't take any damage from it. Now, we're going to build up a small system that automatically dispenses bone meal to the player, letting them AFK much longer. First, we want to place down a solid block against this temporary dirt block, and then attach 2 powered levers to the edge here, with trapdoors directly on top of them. These trapdoors need to stay powered, otherwise this pressure plate will intermittently open and close them. Then put a stone block on top of the other edge, with another dirt block above the pressure plate, with a hopper facing into that. These 2 slabs here are super important as they prevent stray items from the trees landing on top of the pressure plate and clogging the bone meal dropper, which was a bug with the original design. Now we can place down our first observer of the tutorial, with its own redstone dust on top and chest next to it like so. Parkouring down here, we can place 2 more solid blocks, one of which has a lever attached. Replace the dirt with the dropper, and after placing down some informative signs, please put this trapdoor on the top half of the block. Otherwise, the scaffolding above won't change its distance value, which determines how far away it is from a support block. This distance value changes when the trapdoor below it goes from closed and supporting it to open and not supporting it, and updates all the scaffolding above it, which you'll see later on when we build the TNT duper. Now, let's take this farm to another level by pillaring up 32 blocks of scaffolding. To count this out, you can simply make a stack of 32 scaffolding in your hand and keep placing down until you run out. You can also use your F3 screen and keep climbing until your Y coordinate has gone up by 32. Once you've reached the top, bridge out 5 scaffolding to the west with a dirt block placed on the right side of the last scaffolding. You can then use this block to construct a small circuit called the nudger. This circuit takes in a signal from the scaffolding and triggers a piston that pushes every second TNT slightly forward, and a lever is used to toggle this circuit on and off. This nudger is only used in jungle and brown mushroom mode, and I'll explain a bit more about it later on in the video. To finish it off, bridge out 1 extra block and place redstone on top of all the stone, with a piston at the back facing eastwards. After building that, make another scaffolding tower, this time 7 blocks tall, and place a support block from below on the scaffolding second from the top. After climbing up, bridge west 6 blocks, and place another 3 blocks poking out like this, with a piston facing inwards on the westernmost block. Then we can use this observer to detect the scaffolding changing state, and run that signal into a piston that pushes an observer and TNT. Now let's build up the rest of the TNT duper by encasing the TNT with a bit of stone, and this waterlogged slab, before finally placing dust on top of everything like so to finish off the base version of this farm. Now, let's move on to how to use this flashy new farm. For now, we're just going to touch on the base version, but later on I'll discuss how to operate the farm in Nether tree, mangrove, and mushroom mode. First up, let's get familiar with the 3 main parts of the farm. Down here on the ground floor is the storage section, where you can collect logs, shroom lights, and everything else this farm outputs. If we climb up this ladder here, we can then make our way into the control corridor, where you can turn the farm on and off and change other settings of the farm, such as TNT drop height. Lastly, we have the area you'll be spending the most time at, which is the planting nook. This spot is where you can turn on and off the droppers that supply you with bone meal, as well as of course stand against this fence to place down and grow 12 different tree types. So, this base version can harvest oak, birch, spruce, acacia, jungle, azalea, and cherry trees. And all of these tree types except jungle don't need any special adjustments of the farm. But because jungle trees can grow quite tall and also don't return that many saplings, you need to turn this dust into a cross as well as climb up the scaffolding to switch off this lever. What both these settings do is change where the TNT detonates so that every second cycle it detonates a bit higher and slightly offset, so that more of the leaves and logs are broken, at the cost of not being able to place down saplings as quickly. Okay, so now that you've chosen a tree type to harvest, you want to open up these 2 hoppers here, and fill the first slot with the wood type you're going to be harvesting, and put a filler item such as iron nuggets in the other 4 slots. Then for the third hopper, you can either put sticks or apples in, as well as filling the other slots with 1 filler item each. For the base version, this is an optional step used to just be more organized, as any items that don't get filtered will still be collected in this bulk storage here. But if you plan on adding the auto composting section to this farm, then you'll need to make sure that you're filtering out any logs and sticks so they don't end up clogging the composting hoppers above. After setting up the item filters, you then want to put a stack of saplings in your offhand with a stack of bone meal in your main hand. Speaking of bone meal, now would be a good time to fill up our bone meal dropper and chests with enough bone meal to keep the farm running for as long as you'd like. If you want it to run forever without ever needing to restock on bone meal, I recommend following this moss farm tutorial that shows you how to make a powerful and lag-friendly bone meal farm. Also, an example of how you can connect the moss farm to this farm can be found in the world download. Then, fill up every empty slot in your inventory with filler items to ensure you're not collecting too many saplings or bone meal at once. Now that you have everything set up, you can flick the lever on and walk over up against this fence and face the dirt in a way that lets you place and grow saplings on top of it. Hold down right click and start planting and bone mealing, then simply press F3 plus T whilst holding down right click. And then, as it's loading, you can take your hand off the mouse. Now, your player will be planting all by themselves, so you can run the farm without you being physically present. Once you finish farming, remember to turn off the bone meal dropper and switch off the farm at this lever here. Let's start off with the most overpowered mode first, Nether tree mode. If you use a farm like this, you'll get over 8,000 logs and 1,500 shroomlights an hour, but that's all without having to build any other farm to support it, such as a bone meal or fungus farm, as this produces enough warp blocks which get composted into bone meal to fuel itself. Now let's show you how to modify the base version to be overpowered as heck. This will require quite a few more hoppers than the original, as you need 2 hoppers per composter, and there's quite a few of those. This endstone brick wall is optional, and can be used instead of the iron bar if you find that the iron bar is breaking for you. So to begin, come over to the center of the collection pool, and we're going to pillar up a few blocks so we can switch the dirt and stone block for 2 nylium. And add on this iron bar here. This iron bar is only useful in nether tree mode, and due to an issue with locationality, if you find that it's breaking for you, then you can simply use an endstone brick wall instead. Over by the southeast corner of the pool, fill in this corner block and move the water sources over like so. Here I've taken extra care to conserve my buckets of water so I don't have to make another infinite water source later on. Once you've done that, climb up the ladder we made earlier and build another one of those auto dispenser systems. This one's actually only useful in Mangrove Mode, so if you're not interested in farming propagules, then you can skip this step. Like before, we want to place down 2 powered levers with trapdoors on top. And use a temporary dirt block to place down our hopper, observer, and double chest trio. Then finally, come back down to the planting nook and replace the dirt with a dropper powered by a lever. Coming back to the control corridor, we want to place down this trapdoor here, which is actually something you can flick to change how the storage system works, indicated by it being a different wood type. In this case, toggling the trapdoor makes the unfiltered items go to either the composting array or the bulk storage. To get to the composters, we'll need to start work on another item elevator, which is what I'm building here. After placing down another water source whilst conserving your water, place a temp dirt block on top of this cornerstone block, and then make a small 2x3 platform out of half slabs. Here we're making the foundation of the integrated fungus farm, and over here by the stone block is where the excess items from the composting rate are going to fall down to be stored in the bulk storage. Make sure the stair here is upside down, and waterlog just the upright stair, still conserving your water. Now, back over by our slabs, wire up 6 repeaters going in a loop like this. Set all of them to 4 ticks of delay, except for the 2 southernmost ones, which are just set to 3 ticks. Now, add a torch here to provide power to the clock, and on the other side place down these 2 solar blocks with a lever attached, which we can then use to toggle the clock on and off with the help of these 2 redstone dust. Then we can take an input from the clock using this observer, and carry that signal around with 2 repeaters, set to 4 and 2 ticks of delay respectively. Place down redstone on top of these stone blocks, with another solar block in the middle, with a repeater connected like so. Then come back over to our special trapdoor, and build up this structure by 2 blocks. Now, because we're mainly interested in harvesting huge fungi with this farm, we can set the dust to be in cross mode, so that we're harvesting more of each nether tree that's grown, making the farm fully self-sustaining. We can even come over to this observer here and place an upwards facing dispenser on top of it, powered through the solar block. Connect 3 hoppers in a line to the dispenser like so, with a double chest on the end of it, with its own hopper line feeding into it. Then place down an allium of the same type as what you used earlier, and surround it with a 5x5 platform of dirt or grass blocks. Build 2 pairs of stone on the corners like this, and then jump back down to this repeater here, and use a torch to carry the signal upwards. Then, place a row of stone against the edge of the dirt with an open fence gate in the middle. Now we can chuck down a row of trapdoors and make sure all of them, but the center one, are in the middle of the block and facing away from the player. Then place another row of stone behind the trapdoors and connect it up with the previous cornerstone over here. Add a hopper facing into this chest with a double chest above it. Place 2 upside down stairs above this lower chest so that you're still able to open it, and then build up the sides of the water elevator by another 2 blocks, and enclose the dirt platform with more stone and these fences. Now, power all of these trapdoors using redstone dust placed on top of the stone, and waterlog them too. If you place the trapdoors properly, then you shouldn't have any water leaking out. Next, build up the edges a bit. And place down 3 hoppers connected to the double chest, going out eastwards, as well as 3 going out southwards, with 4 hoppers facing into each other like so. Lastly, add on another hopper here, with a stone block placed against it. Now, simply place a composter on top of every hopper. Build up the item elevator by a couple more blocks, and then chuck down another layer of hoppers, this time on top of the composters. Put down a block against this hopper on the edge here, as well as 2 more where the item elevator is. Also, use some dirt as a temporary block to help us construct a border of blocks around the hoppers to help keep all the water and items contained. Place 2 upside down stairs against these stone blocks. These will funnel items diagonally and slowly across 4 hoppers at once, giving them able time to collect them. You can then remove the dirt and lubricate our soul sand item elevator by filling it with water and turning it into a bubble column by then using kelp. Cap off the top with an upside down stair, and then come back over to where the stairs are and place down another temporary dirt block so you can construct a border of stone around the hoppers like before. Lastly, place down one final upside down stair and empty your bucket of water next to the 2 other stairs to complete the top half of the farm. There's one extra modification that I highly recommend you make, which reconfigures the bone meal distribution system to prioritize sending bone meal to the player 100% of the time, instead of it randomly going to either the player or the fungus farm. To do this, simply remove these hoppers and chests here, and replace the chest over where the stair used to be, and connect it back up with these hoppers placed like so. So with Nether tree mode, we want to toggle the dust dot into a cross, so then before going over to the planting nook, switch off this lever here as that'll start up the perfectly timed fungus farm. Also, if you want to switch between warped and crimson mode, you just need to replace the Nalium in both the tree and fungus farm with the desired variant, as well as switch out the logs you have in the item filters. With these item filters, you can choose to cling on to any shroomlights or weeping vines the farm produces, or feel free to just let them be composted. This mode's a bit out there, but it works, and lets this farm now harvest a literal dozen tree types, which is mad. Literally, like this modification was designed by Madman25. The first and most important thing to note about this modification is that it is locational, meaning that in some areas you build this, you won't be able to reach the mangrove propagule to bone meal it. So it's vital that you first check to make sure that the propagule will be placed on the first 7 pixels on the eastern side of the plant location block, which can be checked at any Y level. Basically, before you make the farm, place down propagules on random blocks until you find one where the propagule is on the easternmost half of the block, and then align the dirt block in that farm with the one you just tested. Wow, the materials list just keeps getting cheaper. The majority of the changes in Mangrove Mode surround the core of the farm, where saplings are placed down. So after heading over there, replace the top nylium with dirt, and then remove all the fence gates in second nylium. If you've come straight from the base version of this farm, then you can skip this step. Swim up the water onto the dirt block and remove the waterlog sign and trapdoor, before replacing it with obsidian. What this modification requires is placing a sequence of blocks in a way that blocks the mangrove propagule from growing its roots down and into the water collection pool, which would obstruct the water. Also, you'll need to grab this iron bar as we're going to reuse it for the mangrove blast chamber. Pillar up so you're at the same Y level as the stone support block on its south side. Bridge 3 blocks across, 1 block up, 1 block across, 2 blocks up, 2 blocks across, and 2 blocks up. Now alternate between placing chains and iron bars, starting with 1 chain, 3 iron bars, 1 chain, 3 more iron bars, 2 chains, and another iron bar, and then 1 more chain. Then simply dig out the old dirt scaffolding and pivot around to the north side of the farm and bridge out the same way again. So 3 blocks across, 1 up, 1 across, then 2 up, 2 across, and 2 blocks up at the end. Again, place alternating chains and iron bars so that the tops and bottoms of each column of bars is adjacent to a chain. Then clean up the dirt underneath. Now for a much simpler section. Starting from this block here, bridge west 6 blocks. Then place chains and iron bars alternating like so, starting from the second dirt block from the center planting dirt block. Then you can remove all that dirt and come around to the east side to build the final branch of iron bars and chains. Get up to the bottom of the planting dirt block and remove this chain here. Also, for technical reasons, we want the player to be slightly elevated, so remove this slab here and replace it with a trapdoor that's top surface is flat, with a carpet on top. And please don't forget about the sign, it's pretty important. Next up, remove this iron bar in your way and chuck it down on this dirt here, with a horizontal chain placed on top of this fence post, on the other side of the iron bar, and another right next to the planting dirt block. We also want to place down a couple temporary dirt blocks so we can place down another horizontal chain, and then place this trapdoor here and open it like so. To finish, we can remove all the dirt scaffolding. You can use this farm in the exact same way as the Nether tree version. You only need to set the dust to a cross. Just remember to change the item filters to mangrove logs and mangrove roots too if you don't want to compost them. The only difference when using the farm compared to the base version is that you want to ensure your player is positioned within 0.05 blocks either side of the middle of this fence. I did the math, and if you go outside of that 0.1 block range, then there's a chance that a dropper could drop a propagule on the very edge of the block here, and you wouldn't be able to pick it up. You will also need a separate propagule farm to load up propagules into this dropper, as you don't make back enough propagules from farming mangrove trees to keep the farm running forever. Now, just before we close out this video, I wanted to mention a few minor details about this farm that you may come across when using it in survival. If you're having trouble with this farm, first comment your issue down below for the YouTube algorithm, and then check the FAQ document in the description, as it's likely your issue is already solved there. If you're really stuck, you can share screenshots or video of your farm on the Huge Fungi Huggers Discord, where others can help you out more directly. If you're in a cold biome, you'll want to place waterlog signs in all of these sources down here so they don't freeze and convert to ice. Also, if you accidentally run the farm with the top lever turned off without the dust being in cross mode, then the player will take a bit of damage from the TNT duper. Know that no tree type uses this configuration of the TNT duper, so you should never need to run the farm in this mode. I hope this video has a slightly more wholesome comment section than the last. I truly apologize for how rushed that video felt, and I hope that this video reconciles all those mistakes. And with all that, I just wanted to say thanks a heap for watching and being patient. It's been over half a year since my last upload, and that's due to a cascading amount of reasons, one of which is this piece of art behind me. Just know that good things take time, and the next couple projects I have coming up are bangers. See you in the next one.